I'm Thomas the Hermit, and I am a lay contemplative, a lay hermit, a man of prayer, and this is my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, we talk about prayer, and I also talk about other things about the hermit life, and I also talk about things that I feel are important that are happening in the Catholic Church. Now, what are we doing with this bizarre lighting situation? Well, that's the most light I can conjure up because you are inside of my truck at 3 in the morning. Now, this is a typical thing that I've been doing over the last 10 months, which is sleeping in my truck. And sometimes I get up at 3 in the morning. Well, this video is an update of my situation, an assessment of my situation, and looking back. It has been about 2 years since I found myself becoming homeless. And at that time, I decided to turn everything that I was going through, the crosses that I was bearing, into a hermit lifestyle, and also to offer them up as prayer and to live a life of prayer and penance as a hermit. Now, I had started a little bit before that by living in a cabin in the city of San Antonio. Now, how a cabin ended up in the city of San Antonio is a completely another story. But that started me off because I had a friend who owned a cabin in the city of San Antonio that was semi-isolated. And I started my strange hermit life there. Now, by what manner or right do I call myself a hermit? I am not saying to you that I am um, an approved hermit of the church, but I would not want to be an approved hermit of the church. The reason I don't want to be an approved hermit of the church is because the church is in severe disorder at this time, and I feel that I need to have the freedom to say what I think and to have my voice heard, and that the lay people need their voice heard in these times of disruption that is occurring in the church. Now, do I walk like a hermit? Do I talk like a hermit? Do I quack like a hermit? Do I waddle like a hermit? Yes, I do. I live as a hermit, but as a modern hermit. I live a life of prayer. I'm semi-isolated from people. I like to spend more time by myself than with people, and I love to pray. And I do not know what else definition I need, you know, and that's kind of where I stand. Now, how did I arrive at this, and why do I think that I'm reinforced in that? Well, I've been living like this, and my yearning and my desire for God and my pursuit of His will. And that's pretty much where I'm at. Now, it's been 10 months since my truck broke down. And when it broke down, I asked people to pray for me so that I could get this job that I had a bead on. But it seemed that the more that I prayed, that job got farther and farther out of my grasp, you know. So I think God had me at a crossroads. And that crossroads was hermit or regular guy. And I guess when I prayed, God answered my prayer, which was, what is the real desire of my heart? And I had no idea how I was going to be able to live and take care of myself or support myself. But the incredible people at this Catholic church began to help me out. And then I started playing music outside of the church on Sundays, and they began tipping me. And because of that, I have set aside some amount of money, and I hope to rectify my broken vehicle situation fairly soon. You know, all of this is very, very quite miraculous. Now, of course, I thought it was going to be miraculous when God helped me to get that job. Have you been in that situation? But He had other plans for me. you know. And I do not have a complete handle on this thing, about living like the birds of the air or the lilies of the field. It's kind of, it's very nerve wracking, and it's very makes me very anxious, But nonetheless, in this time that I have been since I have head out on this journey, I have seen God continually manifesting Himself. One of the things that He said to me is that He was going to give me mysticism and suffering, and I go like, okay. And what happened was, the suffering that I go through, because it's very trying to live the way that I'm living, is carried mostly by Jesus Christ. And I can't describe the incredible thing that is happening there. And it is all being turned into a salvific um, prayer, and it's all quite amazing. Now, the most amazing thing that has happened to me recently, of course, I related to everyone that I had this rapture experience. And I do believe it was a rapture experience because it transformed me. And it lasted like a whole 30 seconds. Woohoo! Well, the reason I'm making fun of it, because I think it was what I would call a taste. It was just a taste of a supernatural occurrence. You know, we get tastes. This is where we run into problems sometimes, because we think that we are arrived at some high level, but God was just giving us a taste so that we would strive harder to capture His heart. And He gave me a taste, about 4 months ago. Now, on top of the rapture experience, recently He has opened up something much more real, which is the prayer of quiet. And I documented that on the video that said mystical contemplation, or what Teresa of Avila was calling mystical theology. Now, it opened up as a very powerful inflowing of God's love. Teresa says they're just sparks, but sparks of God's love will really affect you. And these occurrences were not of the same kind of prayer that I was receiving before. These were a much more powerful, infused prayer into my soul that was something that God was more in charge of, and I was much less initiating. In fact, I can't initiate it. That's how we know that I've entered into the prayer of quiet. Now, the prayer of quiet is a threshold into what Teresa of Avila says is the supernatural life. And boy, that is a blessing beyond everything that I've been going through for the last 2 years. And I can't understress that. That is making my current crosses so light, I can't even describe how light they're making. And the reason that I know that it was real is because then the prayer, which was this awesome love, turned into this powerful, frightening humility, which was, I kind of like describe it like, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, where they come in contact with the rock star. Oh, what was his name? I forgot his name. Anyways, they see him, they go, "We're not worthy, we're not worthy." Well, that's what it felt like when God was pouring out His love. I just simply could not reconcile how worthless I was before God. And that was another word that He gave me about 8 months ago when I was praying. And I didn't like that word. He said, "You're not worthy." You're not worthy. What do you mean I'm not worthy? You know, I'm here. I'm seeking you. I'm trying to love you. What do you mean I'm not worthy? I'm not worthy. You know, I'm not worthy. That's so clear. Anyways, that's part of my journey. A really cool thing happened to me a couple of weeks or this last week. Um, the amplifier I was playing through in front of the church went on the blink a little bit. You know, it kind of dropped dropped in sound and then came back up. I go, oh man, this thing's going bad. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go, and because I had done this twice at Easy Pawn. I had bought the warranty for $5 or whatever, and I had already exchanged the current amplifier that I had for another smaller one. You know, one was an Electrovox, and now this one was a PV. This was a PV Artist, and it had quite a bit of power, you know, but it's not really what I wanted. You know, so this thing started going on the blink, but I bought the warranty, so I brought it back. You know, they give you 6 months. And lo and behold, this time they had what I was looking for, which was an acoustic amplifier. If you know anything about acoustic or amplifiers, you have amplifiers that are made for electric guitar, but you also have amplifiers, believe it or not, that are made for acoustic guitar, and they really make acoustic guitars sound really awesome. Well, if you know anything about my music, I play, really, it's like a semi-hollow body, a classical guitar. It really is.